Howdy everyone. Alright, so I have managed to erase a couple of videos that I had made probably about a week and a half ago. So now I am re-recording those videos, and this is one of them. So, starting from the very beginning, I am now working on my Canopy frame. This is drawing number 39, and I also reference drawing number 40. Let me get this instruction sheet out of the way. So this is drawing 40 here, and this is drawing 39 here. So the first thing that I had done, you have these two pairs of Canopy frames, and these are the back frames. Now all the frames are identical. They are all the same part number. So grab a left and a right. Make sure that you note that the vertical leg, this leg here, is shorter than this horizontal leg. So when you look at the individual pieces, you'll see that the horizontal piece here that represents the top of the canopy, that's longer than this vertical leg, which represents the side of the canopy. So grab a left and a right piece, and the first thing you do, you have to put these holes in these pieces. But you'll note that they give you specific dimensions for the holes. The center hole location is represented by these dimensions here. When you look at those, when you lay those dimensions out on your part, each part has a tooling hole in that general area, but the tooling hole is not at these dimensions. So do not use the tooling hole as a center for your hole here. Lay out these dimensions, center punch that location, and then you can drill out this hole, and it will be in the right location. Again, the tooling holes that are provided in these parts are not in the right location. They're close, but they're not right. So that's where I've started. I believe the videos that I've already made coming after this are current and up to date. So I believe this is the only video that I have to retape. And I believe I've already covered everything that I need to. So I'm done. I'll talk to you guys later. See you. Alright, so I'm over at the drill press. I've got my part clamped to my drill press table. Everything is secure. It's not going to go anywhere. And of course, I've got the drill bit now aligned with my center punch mark on the crosshairs that represents the actual location for this 1.5-inch hole. So with this in alignment, I don't want to move any of this around. I just want to come in with my small drill bit and catch that center punch and get that first hole started. Then I can go up a couple of sizes on drill bits to make that hole a little bit bigger, and then I can put the hole saw in place and actually make the cut. And again, once you have this in alignment, you don't want to move it. You want to just go ahead and start drilling. Make sure you have something underneath your part, so when the hole saw comes through, you won't hit your table or any other surface that could potentially damage the hole saw. And make sure if you put a block across your part like I have here, make sure that it's back far enough so that the 1.5-inch hole saw has room to cut. The hole saw won't interfere with your block. Other than that, as always, very slow speed, because you're going to be swinging an 1.5-inch hole saw down here. Slowest speed possible, and I actually use a little bit of, I'll put some cutting fluid on a brush and just put a film of cutting fluid on here and start drilling. So slow speeds, some lubricant, and it's all good. Howdy everyone. Alright, I am continuing to work on the what they call the Canopy cabin frame, which is what you see here laid out on my workbench. Now I've already made I've already put these holes in it in the back half. I've already talked about that in my first video. So now I'm working on getting these two halves mated together and getting this width dimension correct for my particular airplane. I've got the two joining plates made. This is the back plate. I'll show you the other plate in a minute. These are both made and ready to go. So the first thing that I did was I measured my fuselage, the width of the fuselage. I've taken the seats out, and you can see I still have this skin here clecoed in place. That canopy frame mates with this side skin, and you can see that this side skin is cut at an angle. We'll get to that later. So I've got my skin in place, and where that frame, that canopy frame comes down here, and the very forward edge of that frame, I'm going to rest right up against the edge of this top plate here. So my frame is going to rest right against this edge. So I measured across the width of the fuselage from that side over to this side, and I came up with a number. And then I actually switched. I measured it from this side over to that side just to be stupid about it. Of course, it came out to the same dimension. So that dimension at that location on the fuselage came out to 42 inches, 42 and 11/16 inch. With that in mind, I took, these are the forward halves of the frame. The rear halves are the pieces that have the holes in them. The reason I chose the forward frames to take my fuselage measurement is because of this. When you look at the fuselage, right around in this location where that frame is going to come down and butt up against this end, right at that location, the fuselage starts to curve inward. So the fuselage gets thinner going back at this point here. So this is the point that I measured the width for. So I'm going to start with the forward sections of the frame. And then, of course, the frame has got a thickness to it. So this back half is actually going to be a little bit smaller in the width dimension because of the curve of the fuselage. So this dimension that I measured from where the frame comes down, that forward measurement is what I just told you, the 42 and 11/16. So I'm going to start with that. And then, of course, there's some angle brackets that go in here. And when you look at the drawings, let me see if I can find that. Where is that? Where's that view? Let's see. It is... Where are you? Here it is. That view is right here. This view of the fuselage, it specifically states that you are to file this bracket on the aft end. You file it down to match the width of the fuselage. So this is looking straight down onto the fuselage on the left side. This is your completed frame. So this forward face here going across the entire width of the fuselage, this is my 42 and 11/16 measurement. So I'm working on this half of the frame first. I'll mate this back half of the frame to it, and then this outer bracket gets filed down and trimmed to fit the fuselage. So I am starting with these forward brackets. With that in mind, and with the 42 and 11/16 measurement in mind, I have my straight edge clamped to my bench. I've got the forward halves. I've got them clamped to the straight edge at the top. The very top of this framing is flat. This is where the canopy comes down and lays. So I wanted to make sure that I keep this top area nice and flat. I don't want the two halves to vary. So with each half clamped against my straight edge, I've got them butted together here. and I went ahead and measured the width from end to end. That measurement plus, let me get my bearings here, that measurement plus the thickness of this bracket, because this bracket mounts on the outside of the framing. And they discuss that a little bit in the written instructions. So you measure the width of your frame, and then you add to it the thickness of that outside bracket, which is this one here. Those brackets are 0.186 inch thick each. So my measured dimension here on the frame, so my measured dimension from that corner to that corner came out to be 42 7/16 inch. So I've got a fancy calculator here. I'm going to put in 42 inch 7/16. Okay, that's the measured width of the frame, and then I'm going to add to that the 0.186 inch thickness of one angle bracket plus 0.186 inch for the other angle bracket, and that comes out to be 42 13/16. Now the measurement on the fuselage was 42 11/16. So I have to remove 1/16 of an inch from each side of this frame right here. So I'll take 1/16 off of this side, I'll take 1/16 off of this side right here at the top. That will bring those two corners in toward each other, and that should ultimately give me the width that I need to fit the fuselage right through here, going all the way across. And then when I build the back half of the frame, it will fit in here, and then I file the angle bracket so the back half will fit inside here since the fuselage is tapered. So that was just about 8.5 minutes of a lot of talk and a lot of moving around with the camera. I hope that makes some sense. I will kind of go over it again here in a minute when I get this worked out, but let me get those ends cleaned up and get this framing to fit, and I'll come back.